Good evening, everybody. Could you have your attention up here, please? Thank you. I've got 6:45 on my clock. Well, actually, it's a little later than that. So I want to spend a little bit of time, welcome you all to the August meeting, regular member meeting of the Minnesota Woodworkers Guild. Thanks for coming. Looks like we got a nice turnout tonight. I think we're going to learn some interesting things about some product development and how it relates to Rockler. I'm Ed Noy. I'm president of the Guild, supported by a board of directors. We finally got enough people on a board of directors, I think, to be effective. Let's see who we got here on the board tonight. We got Paul Ehrlich, we got Mike Johnson, we got Ron Austin, we got Richard Tendick, we got Bob Krabby, we got our shirt man, Roger Christensen over here. We got Matt LeBeau, he's our program director. He can't hear anything. So if you ever see these folks, thank them for their contributions to the Guild, because they do more than come to these monthly meetings, believe me. Just a reminder, everybody put their cell phones on mute or quiet or whatever you want. We don't want to be interrupting our speaker tonight with all kinds of phones going off. Who is here for their very first time? Well, that's good to see. We got 4 here. We got any over on this side? I wonder if you could please stand up, tell us who you are and why you're here.
I'll go.
All right.
Drew Cellini, this is my first meeting. I've been part of the Guild since earlier this year. I went to the expo early in the spring, got to meet a few people and was really inspired. I've been a carpenter for a number of years, but have got into furniture making after college at the University of Minnesota. And so I'm trying to kind of balance making money through woodworking and finding myself doing subcontracting and remodeling right now to kind of make things through. But outside of the University of Minnesota, I sort of lost any sort of mentorship and learning. And so I just wanted to kind of continue and do things old school where you talk to people face to face.
So do you know Kevin Gronke?
No.
Kevin's from the university.
Okay.
You guys might want to meet up. Well, he's retired from the university. There he is. Couldn't find him. Who's next here?
Chris Phelps. I've been a hobbyist woodworker for about 40 years. I've been around in my shop all the time, so I thought I'd maybe see if somebody else can do a little bit more than I do.
Yeah.
And in my day job, I work in finance, so if I do anything creative, I go to prison. So.
All right. Well, you might want to think about joining one of our special interest groups. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Who is next? Okay.
Larry Rauch. I'm retired from 3M. And I've been a hobbyist for many years, but didn't have the time until now.
Heard that before. Yeah.
So I've been expanding more of my traditional tools, because that's kind of where I'm interested.
Okay.
The traditional hand tools.
Okay. Well, it turns out we do have a hand tool special interest group.
Cool.
And there was one other.
My name is Jeff. I'm from Plymouth. I'm a hobbyist for many years. My grandfather was prolific. He built grandfather clocks and did everything in a shop probably the size of a 2x4. And he did some really great work. I inherited some of his tools. Been a hobbyist, learning it. And my current frustration is finishing. So anybody wants to help me, please do.
Well, next month we got a finishing meeting. We'll talk about that in a few minutes too. All right. So here we are tonight at the facility of one of our sponsors. We've got like 35 different corporate sponsors. You can find them all on our website. They all provide you as members significant opportunities to save money at their facilities. All you got to do is show them your Guild membership card and you get things like 10% discounts or the ability to buy wholesale. So they give you a lot. Please patronize them and give them your business. We have a lot of events coming up here in the next 6-7 months. Starting off with a week from Friday, right here in this store, uh, Guild Days at Rockler. We're going to have guild members here Friday afternoon, evening, and then all day Saturday doing various demonstrations. If you follow us on Instagram at all, you've seen a lot of that. Kevin, he's our Instagram guy. He sends all that stuff out, but we'll have 6 people here. One, Ron Austin's going to do some stuff on steam bending. Bob Cutzel is going to do something on box making. Richard Tendick's going to demonstrate a little home decor project. Who else we got? Kevin is going to do some turning and making some craft pens. I want to call them hobby pen, craft pens. I'll be doing a demonstration on some CNC carving. And let's see, who was the last one? Can't remember the last one. Shame on me. Anyway, we'll all be here. We'll be here 2 at a time. Plenty of opportunity for you to engage with us and talk. Tell your friends about it. They can learn some good stuff. And then our next event is going to be our fall seminar pre-event. And I'll let Paul talk about that, and he can talk about the fall seminar at the same time.
Thanks, Ed.
I know, but I wasn't going to leave you out either.
So our big event every fall is a fall seminar, which, let me start. Thank you. Our big event every fall is a fall seminar. And it's going to be down at the St. Paul College, November 3rd through the 5th. We've got a fantastic presenter this year. It's Gary Rogowski. He's the founder of the Northwest Woodworking School out of Portland, Oregon. And many of you may or may not know Gary, but I had an interesting opportunity a couple of weeks ago. I'm working on a project, which is a set of chairs, and I got the chairs all done and they're rocking. They're not flat. It's like, oh gosh, there's got to be a way to get these chairs flat. And you know, the solution to figuring anything out is you look on Google and YouTube. And the first video that came up was Gary Rogowski with a secret for how to make chairs flat. So Gary's actually come to us and said, you know, tell you what, I'm going to do a special event for your members, and we're going to do it on Zoom. And I'm going to show 2 of my videos. And at the end, I'm going to show my $1 million secret for how to make chairs flat. And he said, then we'll open it up to the audience. And he said, this is a great opportunity for your members to get a chance to meet me. And I think it'll be a great way for Bob and I have been working with Gary online and back and forth. He's a great guy. I think he's going to have a fantastic project with a little bit of something for everybody to do. But 2 things to sign up for. One is sign up for the fall seminar, which is going to be the 3rd through the 5th of November. If you sign up before the end of September, there's a discount. After the end of September, the price goes up. And also sign up online on the website, September 6th in the evening, 7 to 9, by invitation only. Sign up, we'll send you the Zoom link. Gary will do this special event. It's a free event. It's going to be a 2-hour deal. You'll watch 2 videos. Gary will do Q&A and some tips and techniques. We've got a number of people already signed up for the special event and a number of people signed up for the seminar. So sign up as soon as possible, and looking forward to seeing everybody at the college this year.
Very good, Paul. Thanks. Yeah, fall seminar is going to be a great opportunity. A lot of people decline coming to the fall seminar because they think the degree of woodworking that's going to be presented is way above their skill level. That's just not true. Granted, these guys are pros and they make some amazing stuff, but you can't help but learn a half a dozen things that are useful to you, no matter what your skill level is. So if you haven't already thought about coming to the seminar, please do. So that's a September event and a November event. We have another. I must have hit the button holding it in my hand. On the 9th of September, a Saturday, Mike Johnson, who's been working on a lot of special projects on the board, found a way for us to offer a hands-on teaching opportunity, even though the guild doesn't own any sort of woodworking facility or even have ready access to one. We've got a cousin organization up in Yeah, it ran out of battery. Okay, Central Minnesota Woodworkers Association. They have a unique situation. They are sponsored by the Arts Council up in St. Cloud. And the Arts Council has given them access to a space about the fourth of the size of this store. And it's fully equipped with donated woodworking equipment. So they give classes up there frequently. So Mike has worked out a deal with them. We're offering this class. It's called The Joy of Woodworking. It's for rank beginners. It's an opportunity to actually on a Saturday for an 8-hour session to learn how to and build a really nice looking serving tray. So if you want to learn some basic skills, excellent opportunity. If you have some friends that want to learn about that, have them take a look at our website. Registration on that closes on September 1st. The next event we got coming up is our expo on October 14th. Ron?
Okay, the Woodworkers Expo, it's October 14th. It's at Canterbury Park. That's a 24,000 square foot facility. Pretty soon, we're going to send out an email to all the members describing this event. It's in the works. You'll see it soon. You're also going to, after that, see an invitation to help us run this show. One of the parts of this show is going to be the kids workshop. It's for kids who have no experience in a workshop. So they'll be doing very basic things with the Works Museum. So that's one of the volunteer opportunities that we'll have for the show. The expo space is essentially full. We're still accepting new vendors, but we're clearly running out of space. Who's going to be there? Well, Delta Tools or DeWalt, excuse me, DeWalt Tools registered today. They're going to be there. Feral Equipment, that's a new conglomerate, so to speak. They're signed up. They want a 40 by 40 space. Mahogany Bay Boat Works. They're going to bring a boat on a trailer. They're going to be there. This barrel maker in Avon called the Barrel Works. They make wooden barrels. They're going to be there. Donovan Cummings, who's here somewhere, I don't see him. He is going to be there with his CNC equipment.
John could go on forever. We have over 70 exhibitors already confirmed, and we're adding more. If any of you have attended in the past years, one of the things a lot of people really gave us positive feedback about is the people who are there doing demonstrations of their skills and their tools and all that. So we're focusing on that as well as on the manufacturers and the retailers and the lumber guys and the tool swappers. So there's going to be a lot of everything for everybody. We're recruiting a wide variety of makers using different tools and techniques and materials and methods. So it's going to be awesome. Rockler will be there.
Yes, Rockler will be there. Thank you, Pat Bly. Any questions about the Woodworkers Expo? You know, North House Folk School, we have been calling them for the past 3 years, trying to get them to come to our Woodworkers Expo. They do traditional woodworking like timber framing and wood fiber baskets, boat building. I got an email this afternoon. They're coming to our expo. I hope you do too. October 14th.
Canterbury Park.
You all are our biggest marketing audience. So in order to get a huge public turnout, in order to make all the manufacturers and distributors and everybody else want to come back next year, please help us get the word out by just telling your friends and your maker networks. Get postcards. We're getting postcards right now, and we'll distribute them at future events like Guild. And you can hand those out to them with your friends and just help us get the word out.
Thank you, guys. All right, and then the last one we've got coming up, now this won't be until next year. It's our annual Northern Woods Exhibition. It's coming up April 25 through 28. This is the time to start planning what you're gonna make, all right? I know you're probably not spending a lot of time in your shops right now, like me and a lot of other folks, because the weather's too nice, but the weather's gonna get bad. You're gonna have time in your shop. Don't wait until April 22nd to start on it. Just get yourself a good project going. And we'll be sending out lots of emails when the time gets closer with all the details. I mentioned earlier, we've got several special interest groups. We've got a hand tool group, a box making group, 2 design groups, a luthier group, and we had a beginners group, but that kind of fizzled away. Oh, we have Windsor Chair Group now. Oh, that's right. I remember. That was an addition. Now, these are small groups, like, 4 to 6 to 8 members that get together on whatever schedule that they want. And they meet with somebody who's responsible for the group and they figure stuff out. Like, for instance, I'm running a box making group and the group comes to my workshop once a month and I take them through how to make boxes. It's unfortunate that the SIGs are so popular because when we announce a special interest group is forming, typically within about 4 hours, it's full. And that's the case right now. So all the groups are currently full, but keep an eye on your emails because when a new group is forming or when they got room, we'll send out an email and you can have the opportunity to join a group. And then lastly, our next regular monthly meeting is September 13th. It's at the new Brighton Community Center, and it will be on basic wood finishing and beyond, conducted by our member Charlie Kasorik. Charlie's been he's been active in the guild since Methuselah was around, and lately he's been working taking this finishing demonstration on the road with the woodworking shows that used to come to Minnesota but don't anymore. So Charlie's a good wealth of knowledge about finishing, and he'll be with us in September. For now, we're going to do our requisite drawing for door prizes, and then I'll turn it over to Dan. We'll get going on the program for tonight. Battery's just dead. Oh, we got one of these eye gauging depth gauge digital. They're pretty nice. I've got one myself. It's not a Starrett, but for woodworking, it works pretty well.
106. 106.
Check your tickets. Last 3
Check your
digits.
tickets last week.
That's mine.
That's yours? Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just draw another one.
It's not a Starrett.
117.
There you go. Not a Starrett.
We're band plant.
Oh, there you go. Kind of a common brand. I see this around somewhere. Rockler. Not ratchet.
Yep.
I guess it is a ratchet. It's just
Okay.
different than one act.
091.
Matt, 091. Never wins anything. A green thing. One of those fancy foam featherboards. Pro. Oh, we can't give this away to these guys. It's a pro.
Oh, well then I'll take it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, 124. 124.
I actually have that, so you
Okay,
You have one?
go again.
Okay. I'll throw your ticket back in. Okay. 106.
That's me. I'll take this one. I don't have.
All right, you can take that one. Okay.
Probably one of the lucky draws for the next year.
Okay, we got a diamond sharpener, two-sided.
Oh, these are pretty nice. I got one similar to this. I use this for sharpening scrapers.
092.
There you go, Dan. But you know, you gotta do woodworking now. A good JB wall of cotton. This is my stuff. It's like 5 minutes. And I'm handy to have around the shop.
119.
We've got a very affluent group tonight.
Okay. And the next is 113. Me.
There you go. Stick it to yourself. Ah. Black outside, red like this. 8.5 inch.
Okay, 118.
Joy.
Okay, it's a clamp that'll guarantee take you half an hour to figure out how to work it. It took me that long. 122.
There we go. Side and back. Pass it through the machinery.
Okay, and a gift from one of the members for anybody out there. And the number is 124.
Oh, okay. Thank you. This is Swedish carving.
Guess what? No, Thomas, that's good.
Is that it, sir? Is that it, Richard?
That's it.
All right. So Dan, first, you want to come up and introduce our speaker for tonight, please?
Oh, here.
Well, tonight we have Dan Wenning speaking to us. Dan is the Senior Director of Product and New Business Development here at Rockler. He's going to show us the process of new product development for Rockler's branded products. I had the opportunity to meet Dan at a presentation given by the University of Minnesota's School of Design. They had a challenge to design woodworking products aimed at the novice woodworker or woodworkers who have very limited shop space. It was really interesting to see them go through the whole design process of concept and prototypes and revisions and prototypes and then their final products. There were several different teams that competed each other. So it's really fun to watch them and see them. It was their semester project and it was sponsored by, anybody want to guess? Rockler. And Dan readily agreed to my request to give this presentation. Dan is a graduate of the University of Minnesota School of Architecture and worked in the design school's workshop. Kevin claims that he was Dan's boss. You can confirm or deny that if you'd like. Dan has been, huh?
So do I.
Dan has been at Rockler for 17 years. I'm willing to bet that he gets a pretty good discount on tools here. Before Rockler, he worked at a few custom cabinetry shops and furniture companies. He is an accomplished woodworker, enjoys making cabinetry, furniture, picture frames, guitar amplifiers, and enjoys leatherworking. I believe that Dan and I were switched at birth because he has done everything that I wanted to do all my life. And we got the same name, so it could have happened. So please welcome Dan.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. How's that? Good? All right. Thanks, Dan, for that introduction, and thanks Pat Bly, the manager of this Rockler store, for hosting this event, and thanks for coming out. Like Dan said, I've been with Rockler for quite some time, always in the product development department. When I started, it was more or less when Rockler started the true product development in earnest, when they started hiring actual designers. So that was back in '06. So it's been a fun journey. I've seen a lot of tools come and go. Met a lot of good people. So it's been a great job thus far, and it's like being in a candy store all the time. So it's kind of fun seeing all the new stuff. That's me, but the real heroes here tonight are my design team. So this is, I have 6 designers, and I have a copywriter, kind of a catch-all person here. John, who's been with me the longest, 10 years, is unfortunately not here. He's got a newborn, so he decided that was priority. So we'll set him straight eventually. But everybody else is here and standing right to my right. So if you just want to introduce yourself and in alphabetical order.
I've been with Rockler for about 2.5 years, and I'm a product designer.
I'm Scott Rosenquist. I've been with Rockler for about 4 years. I do a lot of industrial design and sourcing.
Right. Can they tell their educational background?
Yeah.
Can you what, sir?
They want to know if you graduate from prison.
Oh, so I graduated from Savannah College of Art and Design, and I've actually taken on kind of resin pouring and wood turning as well.
My background is actually in management with focus on manufacturing, but I've been doing product development and design for about 20 years.
I'm Jay Owens. I've been with Rockler about 5.5 years. I'm an industrial designer, and I went to UW Stout for industrial design, and I graduated and started at Rockler 2 months later.
Jay Lundquist, I'm a new guy, 1.5 years at Rockler. Went to the Michigan State University for industrial design, design technology. Always been a maker, right in the pocket knives lately. I'm a CNC guy too, so love metalworking and woodworking in that combination.
I'm Derek. Been at Rockler about 2.5 years. I'm a design engineer at Rockler. I went to the South Dakota State University out in Brookings for mechanical engineering. Kind of was in the boating industry for a while, and then got into the woodworking world. So I've just always been a hobbyist woodworker since high school. Got into it. Kind of just carried that through. So now I get to work on woodworking all day. So
Everything Derek designs has a propeller. So we're working on that. We have Bill Bremner right here, the Vice President of Product Development and Merchandising. So he is with us as well today. So that's the crew. I really believe that we have one of the most talented groups of designers in the woodworking world. Working for us is the best group in my 17 years, and I don't do a lot of designing anymore. So I'm including myself in those previous years. So this is by far the best group of talented designers I've worked with. So it's a lot of fun working with these guys every day. So the purpose of tonight is just to talk to you guys a little bit about the product development process. It's going to be a very kind of high level conversation. As I go through this, if you have any questions, feel free. Don't have to hold off to the end. Might as well just get the conversation going. So it's basically about the inner workings of how we start, how we prototype, all the above, and until it gets into business. So it's kind of a fun little journey when it comes to developing new products. So we'll start with idea generation. Basically how and where we look for ideas. The number one thing that we talk to, and we talk to a lot of people, we'll have roundtable meetings at stores, we'll meet with customers, is we don't ask them, what is your idea? Because that never happens. Some people have a lot of ideas, right? But usually you have to start a conversation, and the best way to do it is, what do you not like about woodworking? What part of woodworking is a pain to you? You know, do you hate certain processes? Because that's just like food for us. It's like, all right, that's a pain point. So let's go after that. Let's ideate around that. Let's see if anybody's been working on this. Let's see if we can make it easier, safer, so the customer has more success or even more fun. So anytime somebody says, God, that part just sucks, I just do not like finishing this or using this, it's like, all right, let's dig into that a little bit. So we've come up with a lot of great ideas just by listening to people complain. So it's an interesting way to get into their head and how they do their work. Another thing we do is when we're thinking about developing products, it's not just a wide open net, because that's just a blank white sheet of paper is hard to ideate on. So we kind of narrow it down, and we'll narrow it down by category. And we'll look at these categories and we'll see what's missing. We'll look at what we're carrying currently, what we have carried in the past, what our competition carries, any fringe kind of working, like the leather working I do has a lot of overlap with tools and processes. So we look at categories as a very powerful thing. And if there's a gap, we jump all over it. And we always ask the question, obviously, what's missing in that category? Good example, go ahead. Well, it'd be, the first one would be, obviously, would be a woodcraft. Then it would be places like maybe a Lee Valley, those types of companies, a Woodpeckers, anybody that makes those kind of woodworking tools. I'd say the number one, because they're retailers, would be Woodcraft. So that's, and we have stores in the US, they have stores in the US, so it's probably our biggest competitor. So way back when, long after I started, we were looking at different categories, and we looked at dust collection. And you look around, when you were in the store, you look around, they had umpteen ways to drill a board or route a board or whatever. And then there was this little spot of dust collection with random black ports that you might as well sell 2 rolls of duct tape with every port you sell. So we thought, what stinks about dust collection? Why isn't anybody using it? Why isn't it popular? And we realized that half the time, all the ports on 4-inch tools or 2.5-inch tools vary ever so slightly, right? So you can never have that perfect fit. So we thought, why not? And a lot of our shops, a lot of our customers are not big shops. They're your garage shop, the back out the car, roll out the tools, that's a lot of our customer. So they don't necessarily have the plumbed in version. So what we did is came up with a rubber boot that you put around that port. So it'll expand or get tight around the tool. And then you can go from tool to tool with a slip fit. We call it a quick change handle that goes over it. So you can go from this tool to this tool to this tool without having to futz with any hose clamps or anything like that. And it was a very, very popular product. From there, it exploded. So, I mean, this is probably 25% of all of the dust collection projects. And we're constantly thinking about dust collection, always, because one, it's a safety thing, right? Anytime you can not have to breathe sawdust, it's probably better. And I think a lot of people weren't doing dust collection because it was difficult, or the solution wasn't there, or they just didn't have time. So we really focused on a lot of things and have had a lot of good success with different types of dust collection. And out of that popped the Dust Right brand. So this, from dust collectors, this guy, I'm going to use this because I never get to use a laser. That one. That was our first, I think one of our first power tools we ever did is Rockler. And we did the first wall hanging dust collector, where I think versions of this you could roll on the floor or something like that. So we built a bracket and built a system around that, and that just went wild and even further pushed from expandable hoses to shop vac fittings to multiple ports, which are newer down here, hose reels. There's a few award winners on there, I do believe, like this guy right here, the Dado Dust Chute. If anybody knows what that is, it's a port that fixes to the side of your router table. So as you're doing a blind dado, you get that rainbow of sawdust. So that captures all of that sawdust and you can hook up a vacuum to it. So we had a really brilliant designer work on that one. Is he here? No, he's not here. Jay. So Jay did a great job. Go ahead. What I don't know if I understand. Yeah, we have, if that's what you're looking at, we'll be glad to, hopefully we have it. But yeah, we have 4-inch swivels. We have swivel boot ports for 2.5 and 4-inch. That's a big thing. Yeah, so hopefully after this, and hopefully I'm answering your question. A big thing is that we did those expandable hoses. We were the first to do that as well. That you notice as you pull them out, they snake, right? And which is a pain. So we came out with anything we possibly could with a swivel on it to make sure that as you're pulling it, it would swivel as you went, but your hose wouldn't coil up. So anyway, like I said, this is just a fraction of what we carry for dust collection, and we will continue to be the leaders in dust collection because we've heard from our customers that it's becoming more and more important, and it's more and more convenient for them now with these tools to finally have dust collection in their shop, especially when you're in a basement shop. That's a pretty big deal. So that doesn't go through all the vents and such like that. So the next way we brainstorm around products is the success of another product and building on those products. So not too dissimilar from the dust collection, we came out with a silicone glue brush. And I'm trying to think of how long ago that was. That's been a while. That went bananas. And it's really, if nobody knows what this is, it is what it says it is. It's a glue brush that's silicone that you don't have to worry about washing. You can let it dry. Glue just peels right off, reuse it. We kind of were like sick of using all the acid brushes and throwing away acid brushes all the time. So this was our answer to that. Thanks, Pat. All right. So
How immediately you see the effect of like viral social media? Because that went super viral with people. We need close-up shots of people pulling their brush out of their one that glue.
yeah, it wasn't even about gluing anymore. It was about that weird satisfaction of, you know, pulling off the glue.
Sales must have doubled that month, right?
Right. I mean, social media, when they hook onto something like this, is absolutely crazy. It can just skyrocket a product. Like, for instance, I'll go back here. This right here, there's which is our right now called our Click Connect Flexi Port dust hose, right? It wasn't Click Connect back then. It was just our expandable dust hose. Got the rubber boot to fit on all your hand tools. He was known as the drunken woodworker. David Picciuto? Yeah, he's now David Picciuto under Make Something. Yeah. So he was the drunken woodworker. I highly recommend that you look that video up. Make sure there's no little kids around, because he does the most hilarious video on that product. Bush lights involved. I mean, it's just the crazy. And then it went nuts. I mean, that was fun to see. And when I first saw it, I thought we really made this guy mad. That's how crazy this video was. I'm like, what did we do to this guy? But it comes to find out he was really promoting the product, and that just went like crazy. So it was, so social influences, when we got something, we try to jump on it as fast as possible. So back to this guy, the glue thing, obviously, any woodworker, no matter what you do, uses glue, right? So this had a very broad appeal, which is usually a formula for good success, is something that all woodworkers can use, right? Like a turning tool isn't good to any guy that does cabinet making, right? Usually. So, but a glue brush has that big, big appeal. So again, this blew up into any and every iteration of glue product. there is a ton of successful products here. The 3-piece silicone glue kit, which comes with a silicone tray, the brush, and a spreader, has been in our top sales by numbers. These are all brand new here. They are specific to joinery. So you have, I do believe this is for dowels. This is for domino, beadlock, biscuits. So they're actually shaped in for the mortise. So you get perfect glue inside. The silicone glue mats. So you see the theme of silicone here. But I tell you what, all these are handy. I have almost all of this, and I reach for it all the time. And I think a lot of our customers do. But this is just an example of when we're talking about, okay, what are we going to design next? What is everybody wanting? What's the demand? You know, what's selling? And that glue brush was just a red flag, like get on this right now. And again, just like dust collection, if there's anything glue related, we're all over it. Other ways we get our ideas is from customers and Rockler associates. We are always getting ideas from people randomly emailing something in, or they'll reach out via letter or what have you. And we've worked with many different inventors over the years. This one is kind of unique because it was such a cool little concept. And it's the corner key doweling jig. So what it does is if you're making a decorative box, it goes and drills a hole 45 degrees through the corner. So then you can put a dowel through, decorative, you can put a metal dowel through it, whatever you want, flush cut it, trim. Comes with 3 different, I think it's 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch diameters. But this person sent, if I remember right, this beat to crap aluminum block with a hole drilled through it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, huh, what is this? And then I saw what he did with it. And I'm like, that is really cool. And what we came to find out is, depending on where you set this fence right here, you can actually go through the inside of the box, right? So that dowel goes to the inside of the box. Now it's a tray holder for the inside of your box. So it's really a very clever, cool idea.
So, which like that, I can't be specific, but what kind of licensing agreement you work out with people, how do you handle it like that outright, or?
It depends on the situation, and it depends on if they have a patent or not, or, right, it gets a little bit different if you have a patent. This person did not. So we do a percentage of net sales, and it all varies for there, but we definitely compensate people for this. We send out NDAs before they even talk to us about, they'll say, I have an idea, and it is, we stop them and they're like, all right, we'll send you an NDA. So then there's no trouble later saying, hey, you stole my idea, and so on and so forth.
So from you getting a chunk of aluminum with a hole in it to this being on the shelf here, what kind of time frame?
I would say that one probably took, back then, I'd say roughly a year, give or take.
Pretty good.
So yeah, but that includes tooling, shipping time, right? Everything to the store, right? Yeah. I mean, things are taking a little bit longer now these days, but back then, I don't know why it seemed a little easier, and it wasn't that long ago, but yeah, so about a year for this one. So, and it's been a great product. It's really cool to show. This one actually I took off the customer gallery on our website, and it's just a whole bunch of pictures of people doing weird stuff with this jig. So it's kind of fun just to see. There's a couple on there that I was going to put up, and I'm like, well, you won't know what the hell you're looking at. So this one is about as simple of a box we saw. So the other two, this isn't the last two. There's more ways to do this. These are just the big hitters. We go to a lot of tour.
Do you use any Minnesota development people for building prototypes? And once you get to a point where it's going to be mass produced, are there any Minnesota producers?
Minnesota manufacturers?
Yes.
Yes. We have, like, our Clampett is made in Plymouth. That has been made in Plymouth for a long time. We do source from overseas for sure. I mean, it's a global market. You got to go where the manufacturing is, but we do have Minnesota companies that, well, actually mostly Minnesota, because it's easier that way, that have made some of our products. Some Iowa. We worked with a company out of Minneapolis for years, and now we do it all in-house. 3D printers have become so inexpensive and so accurate and so fast that we just have machines now that could do it. I mean, 15 years ago, the same machines we got would probably be, you know, or the technology of that would be like $30,000 to $50,000.
We're definitely spoiled. I think we can have a concept in the morning and review it in the afternoon. So.
Right, so that is nice. I'll get into that in a minute also. So trade shows, we go to all the woodworking trade shows. I think Donovan, wherever he was just saying he was at the last one in Las Vegas. We go to other shows that are kind of fringe shows just to see what other people are doing, like the Blade Show. If anybody is interested in that, it's a pretty cool show in Atlanta. A lot of talented people, just super cool stuff, and a lot of different woods also at that show. So if you're there in Atlanta, it's worth stopping by. So, but those are the type of shows just to mine all the booths and what people are doing, materials, trying to generate ideas. That really, really helps kind of keep the juices going. And we're always, as a group, and I am for sure, always thinking of a product no matter where I'm at and what I'm doing. I'm looking at this and like, oh, you know, I could be anywhere and see a hinge on a door and I'm at a God knows where. Be like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know. This is a good, for instance, John, who is not here. He's the one that came up with the bandy clamp. And he saw something in some magazine where somebody wrapped a rubber band around a clothespin to hold something. I don't even know if it was woodworking related or what it was. And he brought it in, he's like, hey, what if we did this? And every time a what if comes out, it's like, all right, I'm all ears, you know. So he developed this and it's been a great success for us, but it was just a random, he saw something out of the corner of his eye, and that's always thinking about product development. Now we get into the.
Before you list products, can you give an example of a product that you had high expectations for, but it commercially didn't work out?
I'm going to end with that one. I have that one.
All right.
I always end on a low. That's what they told me.
Sounds like you do a lot of focus groups and things like that together. You're more successful. You ever do any observational work where you go into shops and watch people work and see any issues they have?
We have here and there, not as much as we probably should. Like the big shops, you know, like production shops, they're not that valuable for us, right? Because it's just lineal feet of whatever, and that's it, right? I remember going on to Dan, he was a North Star. You're Dan Burke. Oh, what's his name? Shoot, Dan something. Anyway, he had a really cool shop down south that we went to, and he was one of those guys that rigged up everything. And that's fun to see the Rube Goldberg things to do, you know, whatever operation they're doing. So I would say if there's anybody in here tonight that would say, hey, if you want to come see my shop and what I do, please let us know. Talk to any one of us. We'll get your name. We'll set up a time. We'd love to come see your stuff. So it's always fun to go see what other people are working on. You're volunteering, you good? Oh, maybe. So the design process, it all starts with questions. So you're asking a ton of questions right away and basically checking the box to make sure that what you're doing, you're covering all the steps. So one thing is, you know, you got to nail down the key functions. For instance, if you're making a jig that works with a table saw, you got to make sure that one, it works with not just one table saw, but many table saws, because everybody's a little bit different, which is always a lot of fun. But you have to have this checklist of things you must do. This product must do at least this, boom, boom, boom. If it doesn't do that, it's one, not a product, or two, you're not thinking hard enough. What is it compatible with? So for instance, I just brought up like table saws and so on, but a big one is routers, like especially handheld routers. Everybody got together and agreed, let's not have the same pattern. And it's just been, so that's why you see a lot of these Swiss cheese plates. It's because you have to, and you'll never cover them. It's the 80-20 rule. You'll get 80% of the routers, and that's as good as you're going to get. There's going to be some obscure ones, but you have to make sure what you're working on is compatible with those. If it's an addition to one of our products, we got to make sure that it dovetails perfectly with what we're doing. Or if it's another person's product, we got to make sure that it works absolutely seamlessly with that product. Identifying who the customer is. What does this customer do? You know, what are they, you know, what does their typical shop look like? What is, you know, what are they into? Is it a turning product? All right. What level of turning are that? Is it a cabinet making jig? Is it something like that? You kind of got to frame up the customer a little bit to see, okay, is this useful? Is it just a waste of time? Or it just, you got to kind of walk the line. Is it just too simple? Or is it too complex? So there's a lot of questions you have to answer before you get much further. And again, I talked about the environment. Most of our customers are in small shops. Small shop can be a basement, 1-stall garage, 2-stall garage. Those types of things are the majority. I go down to Texas and do interviews with stores, and everybody there has, you know, well, I have a 60-by-80 pole shed. You know, they have the luxury of land. You know, it's a little bit different than when you go up to the Northeast. And, you know, I have a third of a garage stall if I'm lucky. So you kind of got to weigh all that into when you're designing a product. Oh, skill level of the customer. This is always, we always discuss this, trying to come up with a product that, one, is easy to use and invites new woodworkers, because we need new woodworkers. I mean, we need as many people coming into the woodworking world as we can. So we walk that balance of, is it too simple that we're insulting the core customer, right? Or is it that we're looking for the blend that the pro would be like, yeah, that's pretty cool, and the newbie won't be intimidated by it. So it's, again, another delicate balance of, you know, how we think about when we design the products. And then probably the biggest one is, if you can't answer why they need it, you probably shouldn't be designing it. So just because you thought of it doesn't mean they need it. You know, no good idea is a bad idea, but we've had a couple here and there. Yeah, we had some bad ones. For the tools that we're putting out. So the way we look at it, one, yeah, we can't sell anything dangerous, obviously, right? Like, we do a lot of testing on products, especially if it is a safety product, push sticks and so on like that, do a ton of testing on that. But what we found is that the jigs that we design actually make things safer. I mean, it's great to have the accuracy, you know, that's one thing. It's got to be easy to use, but then it's got to be safe. So I think, is that the next one here? Nope, not yet. But I'll just steal a thunder from a couple slides ahead. Think about a small taper jig. You're doing a small piece and you need a taper on it. We sell a jig that locks into the miter track of your table saw, and you just ride it like this. You're not anywhere, you're not touching the workpiece, it's all clamped down. That's the safety that we're talking about, right? Accuracy, but also safe. Did that answer your question? Doesn't look like I answered your question, but. Okay. So now we're getting into, we've answered all the questions, we're looking good, we're moving forward. What's the next step? And that is the sketch ideations. So this again is Jay's, this is your sketches, right? So critique away. But this is one of those things before we really get on to computers, and I'll get into that here in a second. It's good just to dump your thoughts with pen and paper and just sketch and ideate and scratch and, you know, scratch out, nope, this is terrible, move on. And it's kind of fast, and you learn a lot by doing this. So we do a lot of these type of things. As you can see, this is all these sketches, even though none of them really quite look like how this turned out. All of these were involved in coming up with the end product of the clamping hose holder.
Also, this is important like aspect for the look of the product, because a lot of times it's like obvious if something was designed on a computer, whereas if you do it freehand first, it'll probably end up looking a little bit better in the end and end up being kind of more part of the whole like overall product family.
Right. The next thing is, now you got your sketches, you're thinking about what you're doing. Material selection is always a big step in this process. What is it going to be? Steel, aluminum, plastic, acrylic, foam, you know, what parts are what? There's a lot of push, and you guys, I'm sure, have seen it with Prop 65, different chemicals, phthalates, all this other stuff with softer plastics. So that's coming into our world a lot more than it ever has. So you're looking at different types of plastics to do this with. And is plastic right for it? Is it better aluminum? So we do a lot of kind of material ideation on these clamps. And of course, it comes down to, okay, if we do this out of aluminum, it's going to be so expensive, nobody's going to buy it, right? Or steel, or if we do this out of plastic, it's going to feel so flimsy that people are going to laugh, because it's just going to feel like, you know, because there's a certain amount of touch and feel when it comes to our products, like something that's, you know what I mean, too light. It's like, ooh, this thing doesn't seem right. So based on the material selection, we also talk about manufacturing process. So what is it going to be? Because when we get time, or when we get to the point of when we're quoting the projects, we want to talk to the manufacturers about, okay, we want this blow molded, injection molded, machined, that type of thing. So we get a head start versus just saying, here, go. Because here, go usually means you're going to get something back you're not going to like. So this is all in consideration of that design process. From there, go ahead.
So when do the evil marketing people get involved and say, you gotta sell it for this, or we can only sell 200 of them, or whatever? Because they gotta be there, right?
Yep. You know, it's kind of unique at Rockler. Our marketing team is usually behind us and trust. Well, yeah, right. But but what I mean by that is they trust what we're doing. And when we give it to them, they're usually excited about it. It's very rare that we have a time where they're like, you know, that's no good. Our marketing team is really good. That's one thing we got, is a marketing team that really has good reach. They know how to frame up a product. They support our products really well. So I know what you're saying. It's just a little bit different. They don't drive it as much as we drive the product and say, hey, you need to talk about this. And they're like, okay, that makes sense.
It does make sense. So, I was gonna say, I'll also add that Dan and his team do a really good job of self-filtering. They know this business really well, and so they've already done this process for things that they don't think are gonna.
Right.
They're cognizant enough to know, I think we can sell this for $30 or $60 or $180.
Yep.
Before it gets to the marketing hands. That's a great opportunity if we have people to do that.
Yeah, when we start a project, we have something in mind already, like, hey, here's a target, right? Sometimes we come over, sometimes depending on the process, and we're like, whoa, we got more than we thought here, you know. Yeah. So it really is kind of within the team, which is nice. Yeah.
And I'll add to that, what's really awesome about what Rockler does is they bring it out to the field. So we've had the opportunity, really a tremendous opportunity, to look at some of the new stuff before it comes out. And we want to play with it. So I can't say what it is, but I got a chance to play with it. But they listen to our feedback, and they also say, hey, we buy this stuff all the time. What would be a really smart place that Rockler can live with, that we could be very good at promoting? So that was super excited when we started, when Dan took over, we started being part of that process. Very cool.
Oh, sorry.
How do you manage intellectual property issues?
So in a way, if somebody is infringing on us,
The whole thing. They're infringing on you, or you infringe on them, or how do you protect it being infringed on?
well, we patent quite a few things. And we haven't had too big of an issue thus far. There's been issues of things that we didn't patent that people have ran with. There's a number of products, the marking, center marking gauge. Everybody ripped that off. Silicone brushes, but those weren't utility patented because we couldn't get a utility patent, right? We had a design patent on them, but that's harder to protect. So those you just have to send them a stern email, and usually I send that first slide of these guys to make sure they know who they're dealing with. But we haven't luckily had too big of an issue to date.
And before maybe you skip, we're just kind of glossed over at the beginning of when we're ideating on products. We decided we're going down this path. Part of that process is also look at all the competitive landscape, see who's in this market space, we'll look at their patents, see if it's already, we can't even penetrate that if we try. So that's part of that process.
Right.
Before we get too far down that. So we can see if
Good point.
a space we can get into.
Certain ones, yes. But a lot of times there are certain countries that it's kind of an automatic, but then there's others that, it gets quite expensive after a while, and you have to look at the return on investment, how much you're spending versus how much you're making. And it's a kind of a case by case.
So it seems like the Woodpeckers products are cloned pretty rapidly, right?
Oh man.
Is that not happening to Rockler?
Oh no, for sure it is.
Or
Yeah, we had
there's really nothing to do.
there are situations, you got to look at how much protection you have, right? And how much it's going to cost. And you got to look, do you think they're even selling it? You know what I mean? Like, how angry are you going to be because it's got a 2-star rating on, was it Temu or? Yeah, right. And everybody's kind of getting that bad rap. I think people are kind of catching on to how bad some of that stuff is. It happened to us with the panel clamp, actually, the big deluxe panel clamp. Somebody came out with one, and on the pictures, it looked identical. Pretty close. Right, yeah. The glue brushes as well. But this one, so we ordered one in and got in, and we laughed because it's like, man, this thing's a piece of crap. But when you see it on the screen, it's hard to decipher. So it's an interesting part of the business for sure. So prototyping really quick. This is a big part of what we do. And this kind of gets back to the question over here, especially when it's a complex item. We do a lot of breadboarding of just specific things, functions of that product. So for instance, in this example, the router lift, that snap lock for the inserts, that you push the button and the insert pops out, that took a lot of breadboarding. This guy right here, even though it's a terrible picture, is just a slab of aluminum with a machined ring, and we had multiple little metal clips trying to get that perfect kind of push, shoots out type situation. That one took a while, but that was the key, and that we did patent. That was a big patent we put on this guy. So far, nobody's been infringing on that one. So we're, like we touched about before, the in-house stuff, and these guys use on the daily. We have 5 3D printers, I do believe. In-house, we have a 45-watt laser for cutting thin stock, acrylic, those types of things. We have a small little prototype shop that's attached to our office. And then we also have a larger full-scale shop at the Rockler HQ with all the big machinery in it when we need to use those and test and on different big tools. We'll even do a little welding when necessary, not me, but these guys will. And then outsource prototyping, we have used that for more complex, like things that have to work like what it is. So you have to get a prototype out of that exact material and not plastic. So we do outsource some of that just to make sure that we get the function exactly right before we move forward. So these are a couple of fun slides just to show you guys the progression of a couple of products. So this is the clamp it, and this actually predates me, which so I think it's like been in the business for 20 years. It's been a really successful product for Rockler. But the way it started is with a wood block, and I believe this was also an inventor. Guy came in with an L, and we bought it. So must have been a heck of an L. But they prototyped it in wood. We had a machine shop do it. We had another welding aluminum shop do it. We did our first one. It's like, well, maybe we can do this in plastic and get the right tolerances, and we could sell it for a heck of a lot less and have it be as accurate. And so that clear one was the first one. And as you can see here, that's where we ended up. Now, a funny story behind this is the perception thing we were talking about before. These ribs, even though they were plenty strong in here with this first design, made it feel super weak. Like it just felt not good, you know, like this thing is gonna bust. Even though the strength was there, we did the testing. So we actually, or not me, but my predecessor, they doubled up the thickness on all of the walls to make this a really robust, which meant you had to do a lot more math when it came to pulling it out of the mold and such. This is actually made, I think, in Plymouth. So we worked a lot with that local company to get this exactly perfect. The notorious bench cookie. This one was a lot of fun. And you were talking about before about social media. What happened here was a Woodworkers show. It tied into social media. I think it must have been a really slow year. This blew up at, I think it was Las Vegas. I mean, all of a sudden it just skyrocketed the first year we brought this out. But as you can see, it starts from a simple, hey, let's put some router mat or whatever you want on a block of wood. Now let's put on a hockey puck. And I was like, no, let's make one. And I love this one myself because it's a wood block with the misspelt Rockler. That's the first injection molding one we got with a weird pad, and a lot of work went into the type of pad, the plastic. In the end, we ended up, again, we actually, little secret here, there's a plug inside that cookie that's just for weight. That's it. All it does is give it a little bit of heft, because without it, it functioned exactly the same way. It just felt terrible. And I was like, well, that's a weird feeling. So there's actually a plug inside those that's molded into it. So this one was one of my first ones back in the day, the square check. It's a tape measure attachment for measuring corner to corner. This one was a fun one to do just because of all the variations. And I just liked how the prototypes looked. I think it was kind of a cool progression all the way to the finished product. This one's JJ. You want to talk about that one?
Yeah, this one was kind of funny idea because it was right after our later date came out, and we wanted to do something that was for
Pass those around.
helping set up, because like nobody exactly knows, what the angles are for doing like segments for making polygons. So it started off, I can't remember exactly how it started, but eventually it turned to the idea of making a jig for setting up a miter gauge, and I was kind of messing around with some ideas, so I routed it, cut a hexagon on MDF, routed a couple of dados, and then eventually started 3D printing them. And then for a while it was going to be machined, but that was just going to be insanely expensive. So we ended up doing injection molded part, and same trick as we did with the bench cookie, where we put a weight on the inside, and then just like basically cut a million polygons to make sure it was accurate. Every single one was accurate. And then turned into 3 different blocks for 9 different
degrees, right?
Yeah, polygons.
Yeah.
4 through 12.
Right. So we worked a lot with the manufacturer with those plastic tolerances to make sure that those were back to what does this thing need to do? What does it have to do? That was one of them. Every one of those touch points had to be exactly the angle to the bar that it's going through.
Plus or minus what? Barely anything. Barely anything.
Yeah.
It says on the drawing, barely anything.
Yeah, right.
That's online. You can look at the features and benefits. It's plus or minus barely anything.
There might be a tolerance on there. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but
Manufacturing spec.
yeah, right. If we know it off our top of our head, I don't think so, but there is a spec to it for sure. All of our stuff, you'll see it here, the tools we use for that, but. To me?
Sorry, we're talking about tolerances, right? So, they had to figure out, you're cutting something. That's our tolerance.
That's used with the block.
That was using the block, the largest one you have, and then trying to cut it all the way across. It's like living.
So, yep, there is. Don't know off the top of my head. Yeah.
I really think that finding a manufacturer that agrees to do it to the tolerances you guys want, that's got to be tough.
Right, and expensive. I mean, there's give and take, right? You can get it NASA tight. It's gonna be NASA expensive. That's so you gotta, and it is woodworking, right? So there's a certain level of it's I know there's a lot of engineers and machinists that I talk to on the daily, and I get it. And we get it as just as tight as we possibly can with the best tolerances we can using the materials we have.
I think that's an application where sometimes the tolerance is a critical aspect. We have some third-party testing labs that we will take stuff to, so then we can also install that as a future benefit. So they can do whatever test we think that needed, or it's a fresh test or an accuracy point. So there's some labs that we use.
Yeah, good point. So the software we use, some of you might be familiar with this, SolidWorks. This is an industry standard, just crazy program. I am no good at it anymore. I'm out of practice, but these guys it's wicked good. And we probably only use what percentage of the power this thing has. I mean, you can do it for, yeah, it's one of those programs that is so now ingrained globally for manufacturing. I mean, if you're doing any kind of manufacturing, you're more than likely using this program. It can tell you volume. It can tell you, you can put in FEA testing to see, tensile strength and all sorts of different things. So you have your part, you can apply your forces. I mean, this is the core of what we do, or the tool we use for designing products.
Doing any design optimization? Generative.
Like AI?
Yeah.
No, not at all. All in it right now.
It's amazing what's coming down the pipe.
Right.
And more design optimization and, stress loading. And
Right.
Materials and waste.
Yeah.
And machines and everything else.
Yeah, as far as material optimization, we work with our vendors on that, depending on what material we're using, for sure. But no AI yet. At least I don't think. You guys all.
They're doing, that's all they're doing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they come to work, hit a couple of keys, and they're done for the day. Yeah. That same program allows us to do, obviously, again, very, very intricate, detailed drawings. This is where all the specs are. This is where all the tolerances are, dimensions, everything is within this same program. So you can take that solid model you just created, that assembly, bring it into the other side of this program and do extremely detailed drawings. I mean, very accurate drawings with this program. Here's another thing. We got a couple of really good, actually, most all of you do the key shot. But if you look here on your left, this is what you're looking at in SolidWorks. It kind of looks like a cartoon, right? Even though everything is accurate, it's not, it's just a computer generated image. The one on the right is also a computer generated image based on this. So that's called key shot. So that does not exist. It exists now, obviously, because we're selling it, but it didn't at the time. So this program can take what we got in SolidWorks and make it look like it is an actual product, and you never know that it's not. And it's a super cool thing we use for marketing. It's one of those things that if we're deciding on colors or textures or something like that, we'll throw it into KeyShot and bring it back out and be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Or, this isn't quite right. So it's just another step we use to verify the end product. So again, there's another key shot. I love this one because the how detailed just the ruler is.
So the products that we see in catalog,
Photographs. Yep. There was. Oh, sure. He was wondering, Dan was wondering if what you see in the catalogs, if those are key shot renderings or if they're photos. Those are photos. We'll do some key shot renderings where, like for instance, our steel stand program, we'll build a couple of the steel stand configurations, like physical ones, but then we'll do the rest in key shot because we can't build, infinite number of those, right? So, but no, what you see in there, we still have a photographer that takes every picture. So this is more of a tool for us at the moment and to help communicate what we're doing to marketing and so on. So we're actually using virtual reality in our development team. So a little short story. I come into the shop or come into our area, and I was somewhere, and I walk in and I see Jacob in the middle of the room, all the chairs and stuff pushed aside, and he's, looking around and up, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? And he had taken his son's Oculus, right, and imported tool that he was designing into an environment, and he was checking, like, is this the right height? Is this the right? And he goes, check this out. And I'm like, oh man. And I put it on, I'm like, this is the coolest thing that ever happened to me. It is, if none of you have ever tried it, it's pretty cool. And we've found it to be a really valuable tool. We've created shop environments where we've put stuff on the wall or on a table saw or something like that, just to get scale, just to, feel what it's like in the environment. And some stuff it's not as important, but other things, when you're making bigger things, it is really cool to see it. You look like a total moron doing it because, you're doing the weave and you're looking through stuff, outside looking in, it looks funny, but it is a very, very powerful tool when it comes to design and scale with our products.
Have you extended that at all to augmented reality where people, look at something online or you confused and come to the store, but that sort of between of like being able to see a certain product in your space?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. That's going to be a little more on the marketing end of it, right? Obviously, but no, we haven't gotten there yet. I've seen that before at trade shows where they'll throw a tool out, like boom, in the aisle. You're like, that's pretty cool, right? But it's coming. I mean, I think it's not just from us; it's coming from everywhere. So I just hope they make better looking goggles. So this is going to be a fast glaze over, but when it comes to now we're ready to manufacture, a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of things like tooling. You got to make sure you are ready to tool because those things are expensive. So you have to be absolutely sure that what you're doing is what you want, because once the tool is made, you pay for that. And if you got to change it, you got to pay for that. And in the end, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, we're just spending profit here. So that's a very big consideration with us. We visit a lot of our production facilities, not only here, but also overseas, to do quality assurance checks and all sorts of things. Shipping has been nuts in the last couple of years. I'm sure you guys remember the port strikes and all the stuff sitting off Long Beach, the hundreds of container ships. At one time for 140-foot container, we were paying close to 28 grand just for a container. And now it's back down to normal levels of like 3 to 4, which is standard. So yeah, that factors into a lot. We didn't do very many big products during that time or heavy products. And then just receiving it into our business as it comes in, we do the checks, making sure everything is exactly where we want. One final check before it gets to our customers.
All your warehousing in Minnesota?
Yes. Yep. So the ups and downs of product development. Does it always go as planned? Almost never does it go as planned. We have had things vary left, right, center, materials, manufacturing processes. We've had things completely do a left turn and now they do something else. So you have to be ready for those things when they come up. It's one of the better things I think we have is being able to ideate around something and not get too stuck into something because you know it is going to change. So with that attitude, it helps a lot with designing. The flip side of that is the success. When a product comes in, customers love it. Every now and again, we'll get some awards, which are really gratifying for the team. And this is, again, we all work as a team. We'll have one person that's a champion of the product that makes sure that, you know, the paperwork gets shuffled right and the communication, but every one of us is involved in every other's project. So when we get an award or something like that, or crazy sales on something, it's all about the team. And that's what I was saying before, we got such a good team. That's what they do, that's what they believe. So it's a lot of fun when these things happen, when good products hit and people love them. Any questions?
You said you were going to talk about something that failed.
Oh yeah, shoot. I don't have a picture of it, but I'll do this. That'll make up for it. So we did a router table crosscut sled, and we thought that thing was going to be the bee's knees. It was a MDF monstrosity that went on top of your router table. So it basically is another size of your router table, but it slid in your T-track, right? Like, you know, who wouldn't want that? You know, we forgot to ask a couple of questions of why does the customer need it? We forgot that one. And it failed, it bombed. I mean, it was just incredibly bad. It was well made, you know, and it worked and it did what it did. Nobody wanted it. And so that was a tough one to swallow. That's probably the biggest one I remember, that it hit and sank fast. But every now and again, it's kind of funny because somebody will get one from their handed down from somebody and they're like, I want the instructions for this. And so I got to dig up the instructions, like, well, good luck, you know, it's all yours. But that was one where we had to really, you know, swallow that pill and be like, no, we got to get it out. So, and when we do as many as we do, we can't be afraid to do that. We've killed products that have almost been into manufacturing and into manufacturing. So if something comes up and where there's like, whoa, this ain't gonna happen, we won't force it. And that does happen sometimes more than we like, but it's one of those things that you have to be ready. When you do this many at a time, it's like, well, nope, no. We got to put our efforts towards something else that we think is going to sell.
What's a typical first run of a new product?
Depending on size, right? Like a glue brush in the thousands, right? And is that what you mean, right?
Yeah. I think
Yeah. Well, I wish it was hundreds of thousands. But the other one would be like a dust collector. You know, we'll do, you know, 250 to 500. This one, I think we do, I can't remember what the initial one, but I think we ordered this at around in the thousands. So like 8,000 maybe at a time, just to keep up with it. This has been a very, very, very big seller. So, but I would say that this one,
surprisingly small, actually. I mean, as far as getting tooled up for it, it's huge expense to that.
Right.
I'm surprised you can get by that small initial run.
the one thing we have is longevity, right? That our products that we put into the business usually stay in the business for many years. So the payoff is a little bit longer. Does that make sense? That's how we look at it. We amortize it over. Basically, if I can't pay for it in a year, even though we do it differently accounting wise, we don't do it. The tooling and investment.
How about something like this drill guide? How many of those pieces were made for you? I assume the blue pieces are the rest. Is the rest of it sourced?
No, we work directly with the manufacturer on this.
So your manufacturer made every single piece.
Oh, well, we work with trading partners also that have subcontractors. Does that make sense? So they have a contractor to make the rubber handle, or that type of thing. Yeah. So we work with a lot of sourcing agencies that do that for us. So they go out and find, and the main company that makes this would do all the aluminum metal parts, and then the subcontractors, according to our spec, would make all the other pieces.
Question more on the future generation of woodworkers. Is Rockler's and work with school districts? This is from the side, Northern Tools section. There's a project where we're working Penny as a spokesperson. They're trying to bring young people back into woodwork technology, things like that. I think that can be really successful in the sense of that those customers, those students may become customers of yours. So the question is Rockler do something like that?
Yes, but probably not at the scale you're talking about. Like for instance, the University of Minnesota was a big one, just to bring in people there. We do, all of our stores are usually connected to schools, right?
We have a lot of relationships. In fact, one point that you guys had mentioned earlier, they came to us to help with their workbenches, right? We can supply those different things, everything to that, but we also offer interactive ability to work with classes. One example would be nice class, 15 students have never seen a CNC machine work, and at the same time did hand tools on the same day, so they saw the differences. So we do open ourselves to those opportunities. We can always do more.
Right.
But it's the schools know we're here, and we always up to the only limitation is, of course, we want safety first. Young kids are power tool. After that, adult supervision until 18, and then after that they can turn loose.
So we do a lot more regionally than probably the corporate push with a, like a Richard Petty. No, we don't have Richard Petty yet.
Rockler definitely does offer generous pricing to educational institutions.
Oh, right.
There's definitely pricing for school shop discounted Rockler product.
Yeah, that's a standard. Yep, for school and a lot of military bases. We do that with.
My daughter went to Lafayette High School, and they had one with their tablets and books.
Hmm.
And the one thing that I'm really fast with, they would take maybe some of the bus for our students, and chocolate out of that. They also had all the power tools and all that kind of stuff. Newest technology, 3D printers on through like color, table saws and all that. It's absolutely fast. See, what better way to sell a program than a table?
Yeah, right. That's really cool stuff. And I think, do we sell some mold making stuff, some silicone making stuff? So we do sell a little bit of that stuff, and it's gaining popularity, especially what you're talking about. But again, I don't think we offer, we offer like epoxy classes, those which has been blowing up. But to what you're talking about, like a fab class, we don't have that yet. But that's definitely something that we should be looking into. I like the idea. Right. Right. I agree. Absolutely.
So several numbers I'm curious about, the number of new products that you put out to the market last year. How many you start in a year? How many make it through the final? How many you're working on at a time?
We in the hopper right now, we probably have 115, 120 cooking between all the designers. That does not include the private label stuff that Scott works on. So this is actually like true, like ground up stuff. Of that in a year, it can vary depending on the year and how the size of the product, but anywhere between 40 to 60 will come into the business. So it's a push, but it's good. It's a lot of fun. So it is one of those things. I know our customers are looking for it. It's always good to show new stuff. So it brings them in the doors. So it's a very important piece to the marketing and to the business.
One thing I'll share too is that the store manager, one of the biggest draws on our annual store manager meeting at the corporate. Lots of other stuff that's very cool. Always neat to see what's coming up on the site.
Thanks.
Describe, you mentioned private label. What's an example of a private label?
So what would be,
For instance, and part of that was kind of depending on which valley you're in. Some is Estelle things. We just launched, I don't know if the beer yet, correct me, there's a 4-inch 4-pack of Estelle lamps. We took that, added the Surefoot technology, which we put on our other Estelle lamps, made our custom handle, brought that into the market. So there's not much you can evolve on that. Other applications are just bringing the projects. We have a manufacturer who makes XYZ item. Nothing we can do to innovate it, and the customer's looking for it. We can get it at a better price and faster. So what a lot of these guys do, like Dan said, could take a year to 18 months to design from scratch. I can do things in 6 to 9, depending on what it is. So if it's a need, and maybe it's a stopgap, maybe it's while they're developing the more elaborate version of that, we have a space that gets the customer using that item, and then we take learnings from reviews and say, actually, we need to improve on these when we actually launch the real Rockler version of that item. So
and we
kind of vary.
private label screws, right? So you'll see them rock. We didn't design the screws. That makes sense. Everybody does that. All retailers kind of do that. That's the type of stuff we're looking at.
So just an add-on question, you mentioned website review. I was looking at a tool on your website earlier this week. Every single review had the same issue. Is that something you guys are looking for and finding fixing?
Yeah, absolutely. We have one of the guys on our team, especially with the Rockler item. Yeah. We have a tech support team that we call it. So call it the headquarters. They review these things, and then we'll actually get into it. So is it a one-off issue? Is it a broader issue? All hands on deck.
And a lot of time we'll find out who that customer is and we'll call them.
Get
And
them out of your data.
right, we're like, listen, you no longer shop here. No, because sometimes, and not all the time, but sometimes you got to look to make sure that people are using it right as intended. And that's still a part of our problem because we're probably not explaining it right, but we got to make sure that they understand, okay, maybe just try this. Sometimes that works, but we want to talk to the customer where we always send them new things if something breaks. We're really good about customer service.
Another thing the reviews really come in handy for is like we're at the point where development process is in a long lineup. We're doing a lot of redesigns, like stuff that's been around for 10, 15 years. So, I mean, generally for redesign the product, we need pretty much every single review to see like where the common points are that should
right.
be improved on, and then also what people really like about it. That we should keep it.
Nice. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.